like reading this book better. Chapter 7. How Grandmother Stole the Sun. Muskogee Creek, Oklahoma. I probably mispronounced that, but I'm trying my best. When the earth was first made, there was no light. It was very hard for the animals and the people in the darkness. Finally, the animals decided to do something about it. I have heard there is something called the sun, said the bear. It is kept on the other side of the world, but people there will not share it. Perhaps we can steal a piece of it. All the animals agreed that it would be a good idea, but who would be the one to steal the sun? The fox was the first to try. He sneaked to the place where the sun was kept. He waited until no one was looking. Then he grabbed a piece of it in its mouth and ran. But the sun was so hot it burned his mouth, and he dropped it. To this day, all foxes have black mouths because that was the first fox burned in his carrying the sun. The possum tried next. In those days, the opossum had a very bushy tail. She crept up to the place where the sun was kept, broke off a piece and hid it in her tail. Then she began to run, bringing the sun back to the animals and the people. But the sun was so hot it burned off all the hair on her tail, and she lost hold of it. To this day, all opossums have bare tails because the sun burned away their hair on the first opossum. Then Grandmother Spider tried. Instead of trying to hold the sun herself, she wove a bag out of her webbing. She put the piece of the sun into her bag and carried it back with her. Now the question was where to put the sun. Grandmother Spider told them, "The sun should be high up in the sky. Then everyone will be able to see it and benefit from its light." All the animals agreed, but none of them could reach up high enough. Even if they carried it to the top of the tallest tree, that would not have been high enough for everyone on the earth to see the sun. Then they decided to have one of the birds carry the sun up to the top of the sky. Everyone knew the buzzard could fly the highest, so he was chosen. Buzzard placed the sun on top of his head, where his feathers were the thickest, for the sun was still very hot, even inside Grandmother Spider's bag. He began to fly up and up towards the top of the sky. As he flew, the sun grew hotter. Up and up he went, higher and higher, and the sun grew hotter and hotter still. Now the sun was burning through Grandmother Spider's bag, but the buzzard still kept flying up towards the top of the sky. Up and up he went, the sun grew hotter. Now it was burning away the feathers on the top of his head, but he continued on. Now all of his feathers were gone, but he flew higher. Now it was turning the bare skin of his head all red, but he continued to fly. He flew until he reached the top of the sky, and there he placed the sun where it would give light to everyone. Because he carried the sun up to the top of the sky, Buzzard was honored by all the birds and animals. Though his head is naked and ugly because he was burned carrying the sun, he is still the highest flyer of all, and he can be seen circling the sun to this day. And because Grandmother Spider brought the sun in her bag of webbing, at times the sun makes rays across the sky, which are shaped like rays in Grandmother Spider's web. It reminds everyone that we are all connected, like the strands of Grandmother Spider's web, and it reminds everyone of what Grandmother Spider did for all the animals and the people. Fox and Opossum both try and fail to bring the sun into the dark side of the earth. Then Grandmother Spider succeeds by weaving a web to hold the sun. Buzzard makes a great sacrifice when he brings the sun to the highest point in the sky for all to see. The feathers on his head burn off and skin becomes red. He is honored for the gift of his sacrifice, which helped to bring the sun to others. And then this is also an activity book, so that's the end of the chapter, and then it's got questions. I bought these books for homeschooling, and then the next chapter is Earth and Grandfather Rock, chapter 8. We'll get into that later.